Hello, hello, beautiful people, and welcome back to the Chelsea J Experience, where I give you uncensored and unfiltered advice on all things career and business, because I made all the mistakes so you don't have to. And today we are going to talk all about what to do if you hate your boss. All right, let's get started. Are you currently in a situation where you walk in and every day you're just like, I hate my boss. I don't want to be here. And you like the work. And that's the worst, right? When you actually enjoy what you do and you hate your boss. Because actually, when you hate your boss, that can affect whether or not you like the job or the company overall. So, we're going to talk a little bit about what to do when you kind of find out the reasons why you hate your boss and the questions that you need to ask yourself to really determine what it is you need to do next. All right. The first thing that you need to do is really get down to the root cause of why you hate your boss. And hate is such a strong word. So just let's say dislike. Let's just go with that, right? Because I really don't want you hating anybody. Unless they're a micromanager and they harass you and, they're just toxic. That's a different story. I understand a strong dislike. Okay, I digress. Sorry about that. All right, so let's get to the root cause of it and ask yourself, what really is the reason that I dislike my manager? Is it due to their management style? And as I alluded to, a few minutes ago, are they a micromanager? Are they someone who is constantly breathing down your neck, not allowing you the opportunity to really take ownership of your own, projects and tasks and duties? Or do you feel like they babysit you constantly? That can create an atmosphere where you're like, I don't like you that much, right? Or is it that the relationship has been strained for some reason? Are you in a situation where you actually did like your boss at a certain point in time, but something changed the relationship and now it's awkward and you feel like things are a little different and you guys don't get along like you used to? Or is it some of their character traits? Now, let's get real. There are all kind of people in the workplace. And we all have our quirks and personality traits and habits that can really get under each other's skin. So is it a specific character trait that just really bothers you? And if it's those things, one of those things, management style, strained, or character traits, I want you to take a minute to write down specifically what it is that bothers you. Because a lot of the time, we just make these generalizations in our head and we just say we don't like that person, but we don't talk about the why. Because sometimes the why can really be about us, and that means that we need to do some self-reflection, but that's a different conversation for a different video. But once you nail down what it is you don't like about your boss, let's talk about what you can do to actually move forward, right? Now, I always say that communication is key. Now, I am hoping that you have a boss that you are comfortable with talking to and bringing your concerns to the table. And if you don't, we'll talk about that in a second. But if you have a boss that you're comfortable with, you guys have a decent enough relationship where you feel comfortable approaching them about your feelings, let's talk about what to do. Now, I don't want to turn this into a situation where you are bashing someone in their face and saying, I don't like you because of this whole long list of reasons, right? You never want to put someone in defense mode. But instead, what you want to do is you want to come from a place of grace and with kindness, because it's all about how you say things. So for example, if you have, a micromanager and that isn't working for you, it's worth a conversation. And really just approaching your boss and saying, hey, let's sit down and talk a little bit about my role and how we work together, because my goal is to really work here long term. I want to make sure that I am putting out work that, positively impacts and represents you and, satisfies you and makes you happy. And I also want the opportunity to take ownership of my work and continue to really grow and thrive here. And I want to talk about the way that we work, the way that we communicate and check in with each other, right? So if you have a manager who is constantly over your shoulder with every project you have, let them know, hey, I would appreciate it and I work best when we have designated check-in times. I am a very independent worker. I like to take ownership of the things that I do and the projects that I take on. So I would love it if I'm able to, use my creative energy to manage this project during the week, and then maybe on Fridays we can check in and I can let you know my progress. That is how I work best. Is that okay with you? And get their feedback. And sometimes, to be honest, I have found that management and managers don't always recognize when they're micromanaging. It's just something that they've always done and they've never been called out on it. But if you approach it from a place of kindness and let them know how you thrive and how you want your relationship to be, they are usually receptive to it. Now, if you have a supervisor where you are terrified to talk to them and you don't feel like you would get anything out of the conversation because they are not easy to approach, see if you can have a third party come in and really facilitate that conversation. And to be honest, if you don't feel like that would work either, you might want to start thinking about looking at other areas in the organization. Because there are some people that you cannot change and you will never be comfortable with due to the way that they act and their, traits and characteristics. And that's okay. But you need to realize that sooner than later and start making decisions that are going to benefit you in the long run. So if that means finding a different position in the company or finding a different position at a different company altogether, don't be afraid to do that, right? Now, the other thing is self-reflection too. Now, when you are asking yourself why you don't like someone, sometimes it's a direct result of our own trauma, our own lived experiences, or sometimes our own insecurities. And if that's the case, you really need to be honest with yourself and sit down and figure out, okay, what can I do to make this situation better? Or how can I view it different, right? So if your supervisor is a person who gives, constructive feedback and you feel attacked by feedback on a regular basis, that's something that you may want to work on yourself so that when you move on to different organizations or different departments, you will take that feedback with stride, use it, and improve and get better. So I want to make sure there's accountability on both ends. But the biggest thing with moving forward on how to handle a boss that you hate is communication. Go ahead and approach the situation head on. And if you don't feel comfortable doing that, that is a bigger sign of maybe needing to move on to a different organization or company. Because anywhere that you work, you should feel confident and comfortable with openly communicating with whoever you're working with, supervisor, colleagues, executive leadership teams. Your company should be working to foster a culture that promotes feedback and inclusion, right? Okay, I hope that was helpful. I'm not going to keep you here too long, but make sure to really get down to the root of the reason of why you're having issues with your boss and you hate them, strongly dislike, and then practice communication and look at your other options and do a little bit of self-reflection as well. I hope that was helpful. And give me some feedback below. Let me know what your experience is, kind of what your challenges are when it comes to approaching your boss or really tackling this issue. And I'll make sure to get back with you in the comments. All right, thanks so much for tuning in. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, bye.